Hi, this is Chris Wong with another workout video. So, the last workout video I talked about how doing too many exercises can be stressful and affects progress over time. And one thing I forgot to add is for beginners, having a high exercise selection, there's still gains. But as I already made some progress from before, I know I'm still considered like I don't have the advanced gains because I know I'm not as strong as many YouTubers out there. So today, or the day I record the video, I decided to make it my last training session before I take a week off. So I end up doing a set of dips for like 17 reps, and then decide to warm up my neck with neck curls with 30 pounds and 50 pounds. Because I was preparing myself for doing rack pulls, I decided to pick one major exercise or heavy exercise, and I decided to train my neck to prepare for it, because I know even heavy rack pulls, putting my neck in the wrong position, especially holding that much weight, it'll be painful. And learning how to contract my neck can actually make the neck look bigger. Now I know like I didn't do it for every single rep when I get to the sets or to the reps during rack pulls. So the question of whether rack pulls can be damaging to the nervous system, it's some people say yes, some people say no, because the amount of weight does wear out the nervous system, but then the range of motion is much smaller than an actual deadlift. So some people say deadlift wears out the nervous system more. So I picked the rack pull for the exercise because since I was going to make it the last training session before taking a week off, I might as well pick something that was different than a squat and something that I think was going to wear out the nervous system more. I still consider it a full body workout because it does take a lot of energy to even try to stand up holding the weight, and it's mostly driven by the legs, the glutes, the hamstrings in order to bring the weight up. And even my core was really tired, like just trying to balance myself holding the weight. So now, like thinking about the one exercise approach, still haven't got down to one exercise completely, but I guess another way is just look at it as only one major lift to do for the session, and then do like one or two, or at rare cases 3 exercises to warm up with, more like isolation or muscle activation exercises. And one thing I've noticed is that because I'm limiting myself to just one exercise, I find that I had more time to warm up with the exercise itself. So I even just purposely started with an empty bar for like shrugging for rack pulls. I did a mixture of shrugging, rack pulls, power shrugs, just to get used to the movement. I used to just wait till I get to 4 or 5 pounds just to do some power shrugs, but I thought I'd just do it randomly with lighter weight as well, and just get used to the motion. Based on the previous video, I talked about how like I skipped a step and my mind wasn't into doing the workout itself. And I realized that when I was doing band hip thrusts. So even though I did an empty bar, 95 pounds and 155 pounds to warm up, I decided to go up by 45 pounds on each side, just because the amount of time it takes as well. And I also had to consider too, the downside doing rack pulls was the skin on my hands almost ripped off during the training session, So I was taking my time. When I got past like 585 pounds. So ripping the skin off the hands is not, it's not worth it. It's very painful. It takes longer to heal, and I got to use my hands for everything. And especially like when I work with customers or hand products to customers, I want to make sure my hands have no rips on it. So I realize, even though I consider this my last training session, and also I was trying to improve sleep by trying to go to bed a little bit earlier, and it still wasn't the optimal sleep. I realized even this entire training session was not, I didn't have that stressful feeling of trying to meet multiple exercises by the end of 1 hour, just like when at work. Like I talked about in the last video, at work, you can have like 3 or 4 different assignments, or assignments given to you in the middle of an assignment, and you have to meet a certain deadline, but then you don't know which one you want to do first, or the quality of the quality of the work you have to put into in order to complete it, because you got to do whatever it takes to finish it, to keep your boss happy. But I don't know if I'll stick to this approach 100%, as I did find it did work for some exercises and it didn't work for others. But what I did find, like over the years before, when I did rack pulls above the knee, either in the conventional stance behind the back or Jefferson stance, even though I rotated and did one variation throughout the week, I did find I was making progress over time in the rack pulls, and it was the only exercise I focused on for that training session. But I think it also had to do with because rack pulls was also new to me. I never thought about doing rack pulls above the knee until like 2016. So it would be like new gains. But the downside of I find, or the reason why I started doing rack pulls before on its own session, is the amount of time it takes to put on the weights, and the amount of time it takes to take off the weights. So then, like trying to squeeze rack pulls at the end of the session, I found it was rushed, and in order to get to the maximum weight on time, I had to sacrifice some quality. Like some people would say, like, why didn't you just work out longer? It's because now I try to keep the workouts under 1 hour at a time to avoid overtraining. I remember there was one time I actually was working out like an hour and a half or even 2 hours, and I felt sick later that day. And even though I was perfectly fine the day during the session, but I think it had to do with the immunity decrease, the growth hormone, testosterone drop, and my cortisol levels went up. So that's why, like, I set the deadline to like 1 hour, just to make sure I know how long I'm in the basement working out. During the workout, because I slowed down a bit towards the end because it felt like my callus was going to rip off, and that's why I kept switching grips. I kept doing the underhand grip to reduce damage to certain areas in the hand, and then switch to the overhand grip.